an episode of Roll Call. As you know me, I am Emily E. Memories Clark, and I'm here with my co-host Alex Goldenboy Mendez.
Hello guys, what's up? Welcome to Roll Call once again. It's going to be an awesome episode that we have lined up for you guys. As oh, hold on a second, I just want to make sure everything's fine with my mic. I'm hosting it, just want to throw it out there, so please don't hate. But with that said, though, we have a great show tonight. We have JD 2020 joining us. Lots of stuff to talk about, and I believe if I could just get this document up, Emily, we have some awesome things going down. If I'm correct.
Do.
What events are lined up?
All right. Well, we have Josh Olin, also known as JD 2020, the former community manager of Treyarch, joining us on the show tonight, as well as we have some topics concerning your local lands and some upcoming events for you guys. We want to kind of bring out the community and get some attention from the eyes of the developers, pretty much, and what we can do to kind of bring the community together and get their attention. All
right, yeah, and speaking of the local events we have lined up, we actually have, oh, there's something happened. Okay, never mind. We actually have some great local events coming up. March 17th, we have the Iowa Pro Gaming Challenge, where I think pretty much everyone's going to be there for, and that's going to be dope. We have NJ Halo as well. That's going to be on the same day. So those events are pretty good. Emily, why don't you talk just briefly about the Iowa Pro Gaming Challenge and what it's all about?
Sure. I'm sure, if you guys follow me on Twitter, that you guys have seen us, Optic Nadeshot tweeting about it, Justin tweeting about it, as well as Goldenboy. We are all going to be attending. It is March 17th in, I believe it's Des Moines, Iowa. It's a 32-team bracket for Call of Duty. They're also going to be doing some Gears of War things and, a couple other events as well. We're going to be doing a live episode of Roll Call from there, so be sure to tune in for that. We're going to be doing some pro interviews. I believe, Goldenboy, you can throw up the link.
Yeah, so it's actually up already. You can just go to the IowaProGamingChallenge.com website up on the screen. You guys can go ahead and see that here. Is there a logo with the corn and stuff like that? Always love it. And yep, so there you go. That's the website. And of course, moving on to a few other things we have going on too. There is also going to be NJ Halo that's going on the same day. So if you happen to live in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, you can attend that. That's going to be in Morristown, New Jersey, and I'm very, very familiar with those kinds of events. You can go ahead and check that out here as I bring it up on the screen. NJ Halo basically has been one of the biggest local land tournaments for the New York, New Jersey area for the last few years now. They're running COD, Gears, and Halo as well. As you can see there, Modern Warfare 3, 4v4, 2v2 FFA, and it's the same for Halo and Gears. So it's going to be pretty cool. Just really, really hyped about it, and I think that overall the quality of the event is going to be outstanding because those guys are always looking to put on a great show. And then of course, talking a little bit about everything, our good friend Thinker, who is one of the community managers for Timo Bay, he threw a LAN in Texas under the LTG banner. And it actually went really well. The people, all got paid out. I believe the winner of the event, or the team that won the event, was I think it was Juggernometry Squad.
Yeah, it was called Stability.
Stability. There you go. Yeah, I believe it was Juggy. Was it who was the roster? Because I don't have it on here exactly. It was like Juggy and like Saint or something. Not Saint. Riot or something or another, but overall though, really, really good event from what I understand. And obviously you expect our top players to go out there and do work, and that's exactly what they did. And of course, time to talk a little bit about some online events that are going down too. As of course our friends at Cybersports Network always doing the big things for us. They have some events coming up soon as well, and of course I'll be shoutcasting them. I think that there's one I will not be casting, which will be the one the same day as the Iowa Pro Gaming Challenge. I haven't gotten complete information on that yet, but overall though, CSN always expect a good show from them, right, Emily?
Yeah, March 3rd, we're actually going to have an ESFI team competing in there, as well as, like you said, you're going to be shoutcasting. So it's going to be a huge event that day. So hopefully we have some good prizes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I really, really, I think that one of the things that we don't appreciate enough in this community are the online events and how, I guess, the quality of these events, I should say. Events like CSN that Beyond Gaming have done, and like I said, CSN as well, and all these other guys that are coming up, that are going to be throwing more events on the line. You got to be supporting them. You have to sign up for them. It's very, very important to keep the scene alive. I think that's something that people think, oh, there's no MLG, so I'm not going to do anything. No, stop being a pansy and actually compete in all these events. So, yep, that's basically that. With that said, though, I believe we're going to be bringing in JD 2020.
We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna have JD 2020 on for you guys to discuss some of the interesting LAN topics and the interview that just happened most recently with Fwiz and 402.
Ooh, it's going to be some juicy stuff. Don't go anywhere. Tweet the stream out, guys. Would mean the whole world to us. And, of course, thank you so much for showing up. I'm Goldenboy FTW. This is the great...
We'll be right back.
Emily. We'll be right back.
right, welcome back, guys. Like I said before, we do have our guest JD 2020 on the show. In a recent interview with Ryan Fwiz Riot, the director of Machinima, Robert Bowling said some very interesting things that really grabbed the attention of the competitive Call of Duty community. Now, we're going to discuss that and many other topics with our guest, JD 2020, this evening. So, Goldenboy, why don't you go ahead and hit the floor with this one?
All right, guys. So, joining us for the show today is, like Emily has said, JD 2020. JD, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, everybody?
All right, we're doing good. Your audio sounds fantastic. Great to have you on the show. Really appreciate it. So let's just kickstart some things here. For everyone who may be watching, please introduce yourself. You know, some people may not know who you are. I'm pretty sure most people do. But, just go ahead and talk a little about who is the legend known as JD 2020.
The legend. Nice. Thank you. My name's Josh Olin. I was the community manager for Treyarch Studios for Call of Duty World at War and Black Ops. And so that's probably where all of all your listeners would know me from was when I was repping the community studio side for those.
All right, awesome, and of course, you were one of the champions of the competitive community because of the hard work that you have put into it, and of course, guys like David Vonder on the team at Treyarch, we had a great game in Black Ops. So, to my understanding, and to many other people out there, because some people in the chat were still not even sure, you no longer work for Treyarch, but could you please break down the day in the life of a community manager?
Sure. So I guess that answer would differ drastically depending on the development cycle, like where we'd be in a development cycle. So pre-launch of a game, I'd be working with the teams to identify key areas of development that we want to maybe prioritize, or that certainly I would like to see prioritized and championed from a community perspective. So these are things like a lot of the competitive features that were being requested, or you know, any number of the bountiful suggestions coming from the community.
Okay, bountiful indeed. I can only imagine.
Right, and you know, taking feedback either from Twitter or from the forums, not just our official forums, but I would be pretty much in every community that exists for Call of Duty, and I would be looking at what they're saying and what those guys are looking for from us.
Yeah.
And then you know, more towards reveal, I'm working with the PR and marketing teams, going over how we're going to tailor our communication plan and how we're going to be presenting which reveals when to the world, to the community. And then during the marketing campaigns, after the game is revealed, and you know, obviously if you follow me on Twitter, then I kind of brought you along with me on the various world press tours that I'd go on, just interviewing with the press, talking, showcasing the game, demoing the game, making sure that everybody knows what, you know, Call of Duty Black Ops, you know, was and is, and explain to them why it's going to be you know, the next big thing.
Awesome, awesome. And now, obviously, you mentioned the community, you mentioned feedback from the community. Social media has played a very, very big role in how information is transferred between the fans and the developers, which it wasn't necessarily like that before. Back then, you used to go rant on message boards like NeoGAF or something like that, and hope to God that one of the developers saw it. Now you can actually tweet a developer or go on the Facebook page or something like that and be directly involved with the developer and just speaking with them. Now, if you don't mind, speaking a little bit about how that has changed the responsibilities of the game developer. Do you immediately respond to complaints? Do you wait for it to come out in bulk from multiple people? What are some of the challenges of using social media, but also some of the rewards in that regard?
Yeah, mostly rewards. You know, social media, it's kind of like, you know, truly, it's like the democratization that the internet's supposed to have, and for gaming, it brings it full circle for fans of you know, their favorite franchises. So we can use Twitter for so many things, and when I was at Treyarch, used Twitter, you know, sometimes as an early alert system, right? You know, if servers go down, if there's some problem in the you know, in the wild, a lot of times I would notice that just by a sheer volume and influx in complaints or in messages to me.
Yeah.
You know, other times it's been used as a medium for collecting feedback and collecting information. So, you know, the fact that tweets have to be, you know, packaged up into 140 characters or less, to me, that's the best. It's the best form of feedback, because it kind of forces you to be very...
forces limitation, right?
Forces you to be very concise and direct with your message.
Because you got people that will give you the whole story. They'll be like, well, it was a Tuesday afternoon, and then one day I had woken up, and unspoken... Yeah, I can only imagine, man.
So,
yeah, I see the forum posts.
With how, you know, with how many people are sending that feedback in, you know, when the feedback comes in several page formats, it's very hard to read through it. But with a tweet, you know, I can read through.
But then even then, though, and sorry, just to play devil's advocate to that, though, you even have people that would, I guess, how should I say, you know, like they'll say, oh, AK-47, AK-74, your rapid fire sucks, and that's all
right.
you'd get, right?
Yes.
So is that considered feedback at that point?
I mean, to a degree, I guess. I mean, if everybody were saying the AK-74 use sucks, then I would go. Well,
or it's
you know,
OP. It's OP. Everything's OP.
Yeah. right. So, you know, in you know, you can work in kind of in shades of volume there, right? It's like if everybody's saying the same thing, then there probably is some problem there. They might not be saying what the actual problem is, but it at least alerts us, and I can bring that to the MP guys and go, maybe we need to look at this and see what's going on, try to figure out what the real problem is. And that's true of any form of feedback that the community offers, whether it's a forum post or a tweet or on Facebook. It's you know, a lot of times they don't necessarily know what the problem is, or they don't know what's wrong with it. They just know something's wrong with it, and then it's kind of, you know, that's why Treyarch's got just a team of legends who can go, you know, legendary game developers who will go in and identify where those problems are, break down the issues that are being presented, and actually get to the core of the problem. So that's kind of how that relationship works.
Awesome.
Now, in your opinion, or based on your feedback that you received from the community during your tenure on the Black Ops title, are you surprised by how much admiration that the same community is showing for this game or that game?
Oh, a surprise is a weird word. I guess I mean I've seen it before. It happens every time, right? Whatever the flavor of the year is for Call of Duty is the most hated, worst thing in the world. And then whenever the next game comes out, everybody looks back on the last one and sees that okay, maybe we really did like these. It's weird. I don't. It's something that I've always grappled with. I probably always will grapple with. Is this weird phenomenon where where whatever the current game is, it's that. I guess what it is that people, you can think about bad things and in the very rare occurrences of bad problems, and they just stick out in your brain a lot more, right? That one bad spawn where you spawn right in front of a guy, or that one that one time where your bullet seemed to go around the corner. Those things really stick out to you way more than the other 30 kills you got that game that were just fine.
Yeah.
So if whatever's fresh on the top of your mind, I think as a player is kind of what they're gonna complain about. People tend to go online and they write product reviews or they'll rant when they have something that annoyed them, and that's more of a call to action than just plain old having fun. If you're having fun and don't have anything to complain about, you'll just be playing the game. You don't have any reason to go online necessarily and rant about all the good things that you just experienced. So I think that's kind of the way it works, and so I mean I'm happy that people look back on Black Ops and they say wow this game was really great. Of course I'm really proud to have been a part of it.
Yeah. Well, I think we all love Black Ops. That's just a fact. I mean, I know I did. I was a huge fan of Black Ops. All right, so moving on from the day in the life of a community manager and getting more into something that has been a very, I would say, a growing phenomenon within the Call of Duty world has been just the media and the content that's been generated by the players or the consumers, what have you. How do you feel that has kind of changed the scope of the game itself? I mean, because you have like the sniper montages now very, very popular with the community and like Machinima doing all their work and all that stuff, commentators. How do you feel I shouldn't say social media, how do you feel that things like content development has affected Call of Duty as a whole?
User-generated content was a huge part of my Facebook and Twitter initiatives when I was in Black Ops. So like, we had the COD theater video of the week. That was a huge, probably the single most engaged piece of content that we would share on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
So user-generated content not only does that resonate well within the community, but it resonates well at the development studios as well. When we see something that's really special, it's one thing. It's one thing for a developer to create something, and it's a whole other thing when someone else, thousands of miles away, creates something that you as developers never even thought that they could create. Yeah. Whether that's a modification, whether that's just a really cool Machinima video, whether it's just an awesome rap anthem, any number of the things that people create around our content. It's a really good feeling when you see that happen. So yeah, I mean it's great. I'll always embrace it, and I don't want to speak on Treyarch's behalf, but I'm sure they're always going to embrace it as well. That's the real good stuff after the game is out.
Of course.
Now, of course, you've seen such a pickup in live streaming, especially with MW3. What role do you see live streaming playing in the future of consumer-created content? Yeah,
live streaming was a cool phenomenon that kind of, really started to take off in the gaming world over the last couple of years, and I think that it's only going to keep getting better. People, there is a market for it. That's been proven. Not everybody can schedule a time and show up at the live stream and make sure they're at their computer right when the stream's going live. But that's what video on demand is for, and that's what that archive content is for. Is then some of those people who maybe missed a broadcast can go back and watch it later. But you think of live stream gaming content, it's really no different than a television program, right? You know when it's on, you're going to sit down and watch it, and that works for TV. So so many gamers love to just consume and spectate that content on YouTube as it is. So live streaming is just kind of the next logical step for that.
So speaking of live streaming, because I had to get into this, so on Tuesday, my dear man, you made some tweets about Twitch TV versus YouTube in a sense. And you brought up some concerns, I would say, about the threat that YouTube can pose to Twitch TV due to YouTube's, really, I guess, global user base. Do you? I mean, and I guess this would be a good opportunity for you to express that, you know, without 140 characters or less. How do you feel about that? Because, you know, Fuzzy Outerball is one of the guys from Twitch TV, made a blog post about it, and it was a hot topic. What are your thoughts about it? Do you really think that YouTube can destroy Twitch, which ironically enough we're on right now?
Yeah, I know. No, and I had a Twitch stream just last night that I was hosting. I think the whole thing got blown out of proportion, I think, and a lot of people, like, as things tend to do on the internet, and people misunderstood and misinterpreted and what I was getting at. I love Twitch. Obviously, I use Twitch. I was pushing Twitch streaming when I was at Treyarch. All this stuff is you know, near and dear to me. I've been a big supporter of Justin Can and Justin TV ever since, you know, his original life casting live stream that he was doing. So the only point that I was making, the only question that I was posing was, you know, YouTube, a huge Goliath. Anytime you see such a massive, you know, you look at the David Goliath situation, you see a massive, huge YouTube, the leading video, you know, content provider on the internet. What would happen if they enter a space, and they are entering a space with YouTube Live? What might that do to the sort of that core streaming gaming community and culture that everybody loves and that I love? And I just wanted to pose that question, and you know, and frankly, my hypothesis was if YouTube Live gets their act together, I do know a lot of the problems with it, a lot of the problems with the comments, and there's really no chat box, no way to mod the chat box. I know that they have a lot of bugs, and all the YouTube commentators that I know, they always talk about a lot of the bugs and glitches with YouTube's sub boxes in general and all the other features with it. But that said, Google is a very, very powerful technology innovator, and they have a lot of money. So those are all problems, engineering problems that they can solve with engineers. And assuming that they do, and that they were to make a product that was of comparable quality or even better quality than maybe Twitch or own, what would that do for what could that do to the existing, you know, maybe the smaller guys? I mean, Twitch is obviously a leading streaming service for gaming right now. Yeah. But, you know, again, if YouTube with this much more massive brand were to come in with a comparable product, you know, what would that do? Not only from the viewer perspective, but the broadcaster perspective. If I'm a YouTuber and I want to start streaming, and I have just as good, you know, tools, if not better, right in front of me at YouTube, you know, what would I really want to fragment my audience over to Twitch? And you know, I don't know that I would. So I just wanted to pose that question, and then, you know, express my hopes and maybe some of my ideas for how Twitch would be able to combat that.
Yeah. I wanted to share some thoughts real quick. I'm pretty sure Emily might want to as well before we cut to the break. And you know, I do see where you're coming from in that regard, and I kind of felt like your tweet was more or less like a, you know, I do it all the time. I poll the people who follow me on a regular basis, where I'm just like, hey guys, what do you think if we put Sabotage in, you know, the competitive playlist, you know, stuff like that, and I do that all the time. But Justin, mute your mic. Sorry about that. His mic's like flaring up. So in any case, what I was saying was like, I kind of get it, and I understand where that was coming from, but it almost, I think that Twitch has this service where, you know, allowing everyone to stream, you know, allowing things like this to occur, shows like this to occur, it just feels more community based, and YouTube is very limited to right now just the Machinima partners and whoever they open up that service to. So this is all the things that everybody was saying, right? And that was kind of like. I think a lot of people missed my original point. My point was, I know right now how YouTube, it is right now. Yeah,
I know right now YouTube Live is not the answer, but I can't imagine YouTube continuing to ignore gaming with how big Machinima has got, which is, you know, obviously their biggest network partner.
It's not the biggest; it's the only at the moment.
Right. Yes, and I know
it just seems like a monopoly.
I know that YouTube has kind of neglected gaming for a long time. At least that's the sentiment from
there are other gaming related channels that are rather large, like TGN and Pixel Enemy as well. So, you know, Machinima is the more notable one, I would say, with Machinima Respawn being that more community-based generated content thing. But and I get what you're saying with it, but I just wanted to point something out in regards to, you know, VODs versus stream, because you had guys who were very popular on YouTube stream and actually, from what I understand, the Deserto guys, who I do a lot of work with, a European community, they stream on YouTube now, and they see similar numbers compared to what they saw on Twitch. So I think that
that's with kind of the broken streaming tech that YouTube Live has. That's more to my point, is that if YouTube Live were to improve their product and their community offering, you know, for gaming specifically, then boy, that could pose a serious threat if they're already with kind of a really shoddy product already matching or rivaling those Twitch numbers. That was my point.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But then when you look at the support that Twitch, because see, to me, honestly, I think esports will always live on Twitch. From the way that my perspective of it, and maybe that is a bad thing, maybe it's a good thing, who knows. But there are people who are actually making their fan base on Twitch and then kind of porting that all over the place. Fuzzy Otterballs on that blog post brought up TBNR Frags, Incredible Orb, guys like Cream. You know, they've made their fan base on Twitch, and then they kind of translate that over to YouTube. But I understand both sides of the coin, though. I just wanted to play a little devil's advocate. Emily, you have anything to add?
I mean, I just think the Twitch just seems more independent to me. I mean, right now, from, you know, a viewer standpoint, who I don't stream all that often. If I do, I have, you know, maybe 10, 20 viewers. What would going to YouTube streaming do for me? Nothing. And no one would pick me up. You know what I mean? Like, I would never get partnered with Machinima with that. So I just think that, you know, Twitch is giving, you know, the smaller guys or the more regular guys, you know, a chance to be independent, whereas YouTube is very intimidating. Like I said, it just seems like a monopoly. And
you're right. And Twitch has a lot of strengths in that regard, being smaller and more nimble like that. And that was also the way I closed, you know, one of my original Twitter rants, was that Twitch has a lot going for it that YouTube can't do. YouTube is very large and cumbersome and spans the entire entertainment industry, and so that's going to mean that they're not going to be able to focus on a lot of that niche area like gaming, and so Twitch, you know, that was really the message I was trying to get across, is that if YouTube Live were to go directly after Twitch's market, these are some of the things that Twitch needs to focus on, are the grassroots, the things they can focus on, the things they can out innovate YouTube with, simply because of their size and being more lightweight than YouTube. So yeah. You know, my message was I know I used some more sensational words. You know, I've used some other words maybe that got blown out of proportion in the past as well. I think I struck the word cheap from my vocabulary after the quickscope debacle. But you know, I would never want to see Twitch go out of business. And the point is, you know, I wanted to make sure that Twitch was, you know, going to be able to react if what I think is going to happen, what I predict is going to happen, is YouTube Live is going to be, and gaming is going to become a huge focus for YouTube moving forward with the trends that we're seeing. And so when that happens, when I believe that's inevitably going to happen, I want to make sure that Twitch is prepared for it. That was all that I was trying to do.
I mean, we'll see how that develops in the months and maybe even years to come. But obviously, you know, there's a team on both sides looking to do work for the streaming community. But we are actually going to cut to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the competitive scene with JD 2020 and Emily as well, and just esports in general. So do not go anywhere. Tweet the stream out. And this is Roll Call. My name's Goldenboy FTW, and that little lady over there is Emily Kate. All right, Emily Kate E-Memories. We're just going to go E-Memories.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, and thanks for watching. Stay right there.
Hey guys, welcome back, and I am here with my co-host Alex Goldenboy Mendez, and we still are questioning our guest, JD 2020, former community manager for Treyarch. Goldenboy, hit him with some questions.
Yep, sorry about that. So just wanted to say thank you so much for just watching the stream, guys. We jump in and out of commercials, but kind of gives me some time to relax, so thank you, because I'm running everything. With that said, JD, what's going on? Let's talk some esports.
All right.
Which is my favorite topic. So I guess, we can go back a little bit with the YouTube and Twitch discussion, but more focused on the aspect of competitive gaming with how YouTube and Twitch have really been promoting esports and I guess getting that scene involved. Why hasn't it taken off is the question that I would pose to a community manager.
More specifically to like COD or shooters?
I guess you could say for COD, since this is a COD-related show, so we'll talk COD. Why hasn't it taken off? It's StarCraft, we know it's big. League of Legends, we know it's big. But
right,
COD-related,
exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I think from when I was at Treyarch, the explanation or the reasoning that the competitive community gave for the reason that it wasn't taking off was lack of development support. And so the first thing that I tried to figure out was what development support are they needing? What development support would they require? So when we were in production on Black Ops, before it was even revealed, that's what I was looking at, and I was trying to really get close with the competitive guys. And so one of the first problems that they brought to me was that they needed LAN lobbies. They needed lobbies that could work offline in a LAN environment so that they can organize their teams together. And instead of just jumping right in, because if the way you start local games in Call of Duty's past was you needed to, the host needed to get in first, and then he would have an advantage of the map because he's already spawned in, he's already picked his class, and so these were the problems that they were presenting. So what they really wanted was a LAN lobby.
Yeah.
So I went to the MP team with that, and we discussed it, and basically what they wanted to do, and this is again. A nod to just their professionalism and how good they are. They analyzed the product from a design and an engineering perspective, and they went, okay, do they really need a LAN lobby? Because LAN lobbies, the lobby system is all kind of hosted over the network, and bringing extracting that out and bringing that down to the game, maybe wasn't feasible. But they said, okay, what's the real problem? The problem is somebody having an unfair advantage. That somebody, the host, being in there before everybody else. So, okay, what's one way we could solve this? Well, maybe we could solve it by just putting in a longer start timer at the beginning of the round.
Okay.
That way, everybody can load up, get on the right team before the round even starts, and then they pick their classes, and then the round starts and everything goes. For me, I was recommending maybe a ready up feature, but at the end of the day, they looked at, okay, what kind of tools do we already have available? What does the engine already support? And what would be no skin off our teeth add in, and that was one of those things. It was like, okay, having a timer, this solves the real problem that they needed, that they were looking to have solved. And so that's what we did with Black Ops. That's kind of how that feature got implemented. So I think we saw Black Ops obviously on the MLG Pro circuit and a lot of other competitive circuits, and that was great, and that's something that I hope continues in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. And Em, you want to take it away with another one?
Oh, I'm having a sound problem right now. Go ahead.
Oh,
well, I mean, you guys, but you guys would be better than anybody to express what if there are any other problems that you think that it had, if it was like a balancing concern. And I know you guys will set up your own game rules and stuff to make sure that it's the truest, most competitive balance.
Yeah, well, I mean, I competed for a substantial amount of time. I competed for around like 8 years before I just started shoutcasting. But even then, I'm always looking at balance, always looking at settings, looking at those kinds of things. And, I just wanted to mention something real quick because I thought it was pretty interesting. David Vandahar actually, he had mentioned earlier that you need the developer support in order for you to, I guess, kind of like...
Everyone's looking for ways to save. Why not save on car insurance? Visit progressive.com for a free quote.
Sorry about that. My audio just kind of threw me off, and it's actually writing up on the thing here. But David Vandahar had mentioned something in that regard. I just wanted to get your thoughts about that. Like, having the developers more involved with the development of the competitive side of the game. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and absolutely, and that's something that I was championing when I was there, and I'm sure that's what they're going to continue to champion as they continue to cultivate that relationship with the competitive community.
Yeah.
You know, all sub communities of a game are really, really important, and you don't want to marginalize any of those communities if you can. So focusing on that's gonna, I'm sure, would be a priority for them.
Yeah, you gotta like really like hone in on it. But okay, so now of course moving.
And I know David's very fond. I know David's very fond of the competitive scene. He attended he attended a bunch of the MLG events last year. So yeah, I'm sure, you know, the competitive guys are in good hands with him.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, you know, David Von Haar has been a huge supporter. Obviously, you have too. And I guess moving on a little bit into the casual side of it, do you think that those two communities can be mutually exclusive, or can you see some kind of unity developing down the line, similar to kind of what's happening with the Gears of War scene? I don't know if you're familiar with what's going on there, but they've kind of made the game so that it's for the competitive and the casual community. It's the same game that they're playing. You see something like that happening in the future for COD?
It's possible. I don't, you know, I can't really predict the future in that regard. But I mean, I don't necessarily know from a development perspective what you know Gears did differently that made that happen so well.
Yeah.
I think that one of the easiest way that casual and competitive is going to sort of merge together is from defining those lines between spectator sport and competitive sport. So, you know, a lot of people that watch and spectate the competitive scene don't necessarily play on a competitive level. I don't play on a competitive level, but I watch the competitive scene, you know, streaming scene. So that's you know, that's one area where it's easy, right? It's sort of a given where the casual audience who just enjoys to consume this video content and watch other people kicking ass in the same way that I love to watch my football athletes kick ass. You know, that's going to be one obvious area where those two worlds are going to meet nicely.
Yeah, of course.
Now, how do developers view variants and external rules put in place for competitive play?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
How do developers view variants and external rules put in place for competitive play?
Well, I mean, on Black Ops, we had a lot of custom game settings and customizable options in your game settings. Is that what you mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, allowing that. I mean, just greater flexibility, and that's always good. Can't hurt. You know, it's just when you look at the development perspective, the development side of things that a lot of people don't see is just a lot of it's just prioritizing features, right? And at the end of the day, there's a much larger audience outside of the competitive community, as big as the competitive community is. So if there's ever like a feature, if there's ever a bug or what have you that is going to benefit the larger audience than the smaller, then an engineer's time needs to be prioritized to that feature that's going to benefit everybody, not just the competitive guy. But I mean, with Black Ops, I think that we had a good balance of support for the competitive and the casual. But you know, I'm sure there's always room for improvement. That goes without saying.
Right. Now, I'm sure everybody in the stream wants to know, I mean, who doesn't really understand game development, why has Call of Duty never included LAN and other necessary features from the get-go with the release of a game?
You know, I don't know, to be honest. I know that we, you know, with Black Ops, we had to patch some of those features in. Again, I think that's probably a great question to pose. You know, David, he is the design director. He is the essence of a developer, so he would be a better person to answer that question. But to me, I think a lot of it just has to do with that prioritization. That from what I saw at the studio was, you know, we really need to, the producers and the engineers and the designers get together. They just need to make sure that they're focusing their time on what's going to benefit the most number of people, the most number of players, right?
Right.
So when it comes down, as the competitive scene continues to grow, then that's just gonna benefit. That's just gonna work in the favor of the competitive scene.
All right, and now I think here's since we're talking competitive and all that stuff, and what Treyarch did, what was that driving motivational factor that kind of got David Von Haar and that Treyarch staff, as well as yourself, to create the post-launch support for the competitive scene with Black Ops? I mean, because obviously it was the reason why we had such a, in my opinion, successful year. For I guess a game that had its first ever live pro circuit. I'm curious to see what was that driving factor behind it.
Well, at the time, the competitive scene was the biggest it had been, right? It's only just kept growing. So the year before it wasn't quite as big as my year, as our year with Black Ops. So one of the principal like responsibilities, especially after the game is out, for a community manager is to just always have a constant pulse on the community. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What do they want? What don't they like? What do they like? So when I go back to the team and I explain, okay, this is kind of where the community is at. This is what people are unhappy with. This is what they're happy with. The competitive scene was kind of a loud voice, and there was a lot of people talking about that at the time. And Treyarch, the Treyarch devs, they had such great post game support. They were really hammering out a lot of the little bugs and nuances that they needed to fix in these title updates, that they were able to get down to those other sort of just nice to have things, that maybe a little bit lower priority, but they're able to say, okay, what else are they really looking for? So, when I came to the table with my list of things, the competitive stuff was right up there alongside, any of the other smaller things that were left to still do. So, it really just came down to that, bridging that gap between the community and the developer, and that's what community managers, any community manager at a studio, that's what they're there for, and the community should always look to them as an ally, because they're the ones who are going to fight for you studio side, and they're the ones who are going to go to those dev meetings and say, look, this is what they want. The fans are really asking for this. So you always want to look to your community liaison as an ally. Yeah. To the community.
Now I'm just going to sneak in here real quick. Pretty much as you said before, casual gaming does, take, a bigger a part of your audience, I guess you could say, than competitive. I mean, for players that are, tune into streams like this and who watch personal streams, they think that competitive is, a huge part of a game, which it is, don't get me wrong, but it's way less than who you see playing pubs every day. Now, right. Do you feel that community manager-wise, there should be two different people that address two different communities? Or would you...
I doubt that. Even on a game as big, as Call of Duty, that was never really too much work for me. Certainly having a team that can handle that department isn't going to hurt. Isn't a bad idea, but I'm not sure that you need to separate those two out and extract those two. A community manager, certainly myself, I can compartmentalize that very well, and I can realize, okay, what's a competitive feature, what's a casual feature, and I'm gonna fight for both just the same. I'm not gonna just neglect one over the other. At the end of the day, I think it all just kind of funnels down into prioritizing that development time, right?
Yeah, very interesting. So I mean, I always thought about that too. I was like, why? Couldn't there be another person who addresses, like, instead of us having to rant off to 402 all the time? But speaking of our buddy Robert Bowling, who we all love so much, he had actually did an interview with... I'm sorry, I'm just going to be honest with the dude, I mean? I've interviewed this guy in the past.
Just love Emily's facial expressions.
Yeah, she just goes, jeez. All right.
You do with it at home, you forget. Like, I read it on Twitter, and then it's, like, right here. So I get the double ear.
So, okay, now moving to what the Machinima interview that they have with Robert Bowling with Fwiz, which I give him super props for, like, grilling Robert Bowling, but he did what I knew he would do, which was,
These guys are good over there. They're good at grilling community managers.
They're good at it, but I tell you, Robert Bowling's better at snaking his way around the questions, because he was on fire. So, just talking a little bit about it, he had mentioned that there was no business advantage to having a game featured on an event like the Major League Gaming Pro Circuit, which, as a competitor and as a fan and as someone who's been doing this for so long, I mean, you look at what's going on with StarCraft right now, and how StarCraft is kind of, how should I say, proving that if a developer gets involved, good things can come from that relationship. Riot Games is also doing the same exact thing, where they've kind of built their business around esports. Capcom's now entering it with the the Capcom Unity blog posted that they're going to do like $500,000 in prize money. So, do you think that do you agree with it? Like, what do you feel about that?
I didn't read the interview, but gauging your sentiment from it, I would say that really what Robert was probably trying to get across, and this is my interpretation of your sentiment again, is that, that's maybe not how his game worked, right? That's maybe not how his how his business is structured. So League of Legends is a free-to-play game that's built around those microtransactions in the game, and it's fundamentally just a different business model than maybe a Call of Duty. So in that regard, maybe that's what he was trying to talk about. I would need to read the interview more specifically, but I myself, there's obvious merits to supporting the esports community. It might not translate into direct sales, which is what the bean counters are looking for, but it certainly, there's something to be said about being that thing that you're always being inundated with, always having the top slot on Twitch, always having the top slot on YouTube, always having, there's something to be said about just being just transcending it and completely permeating every nook and cranny of the gaming culture with your brand. There's definitely a win to be had there. So
yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. That's kind of like the way I feel. I just want to interject on something real fast, because you had mentioned, about competitive gaming not directly supporting sales, which I guess to an extent makes sense, because these people are obviously the best. But at the same time, you look at it, and if done properly, I think that it could really foster growth within that game, which I think is something that I personally want to see in a game like Call of Duty, which has a year span. It has a year lifespan, which I don't like, because I would like to play Black Ops 2 years straight on a competitive level as opposed to having to move to MW3. I know a lot of people might disagree with that statement, but that's the way I feel about it. The game works. The community, the team supports us. Why not work with that game? And I kind of feel as if, having our competitive players, having that crowd constantly support whatever Treyarch does would foster, I guess, sales of DLC, things like that. I mean, in a sense, I feel as if there's a way to make it happen. It just hasn't been explored yet. You know what I mean?
And I think you might be right as the competitive scene continues to grow. I just think the critical mass, right, the absolute maximum reach that it offers right now, maybe isn't as big as just the sheer marketing reach that Activision can have with.
And that makes sense, because your average Joe Blow is going to be the guy who's going to buy Call of Duty every year, and he's going to be the one telling all his friends about it, using his radars and all that stuff. So I mean,
everybody watching and playing the esports for Call of Duty, they're already customers, right? They already got the game, and they already got their sales. So I guess that's kind of the way to look at it. But you contrast that with maybe the League of Legends model, which is what you did, and it's a fundamentally different business model. Right. Just because they're already a player in League of Legends doesn't mean they're not going to be spending more money. That's kind of the different business model. I don't know, but again, I would have to read the interview to maybe evaluate it a little bit better. But that's kind of from the sideline my interpretation of it.
Okay, well, kind of stepping back a little bit. Obviously, you watched the publicized event of COD XP. Now, it just seems strange to me, and other people, that MW3 or Activision would release MW3 with the largest COD tournament ever to not support competitive play afterwards. You had him stand on that stage and make promises that there will be LAN. And I believe in our article that we posted with ESFI, we went back and we embedded that tweet. Then you had him say, "No last stand." I mean, is there a difference between Activision and the developer on this, or are we just reading too much into COD XP?
I don't know. I can't say what happened at IW. I can't really say what happened, with Robert Bowling's what he said and what happened. I just don't know. I have literally. This isn't me just trying to sidestep anything. I just don't have any insight into that world at all. I was just exclusively focused on Treyarch, Black Ops, the community there.
Not saying that I support their decision or that I understand about development, because I don't. I'm just trying to come with a competitive community, right? When somebody promises you something, we don't know any different. So when you stand up on a stage in front of millions of viewers and you say, "We will have LAN," and then you tweet it out the day after, what else are we left to believe? So you have plenty of angry fans who go at him, and I'm not saying he's a good guy.
Here, let me tell you a story that happened with me during my tenure at Treyarch. We had a zombies trailer in development that we wound up showing that trailer at COD XP, and we had this trailer in development, and we were going to go live with that before the game shipped, and that was kind of the plan behind the scenes. And so I had gone to Twitter and I had said, "We got this awesome trailer coming next week. It's going to be great. You guys are going to love it." And I knew they were going to love it because it was a Michael Barnes produced like Zombies trailer, and those were always the most popular from World at War. So I was like, this is what excited me, and then like in the 11th hour, just some red tape happened, as things can happen right behind the scenes, and it got pulled, and we weren't able to air it at that time, and then it kind of got kept getting pushed back because we have a marketing calendar that we're adhering to. So when that all happened, it a lot of backlash came back on me. Everybody went, "Oh, you said there was a trailer coming. Where's this trailer?" So that was a case of me leading out with a communication before it was etched in stone, and that was a problem, right? I mean, all indicators were that this was coming, and it was pretty much in the plan, but it wasn't etched in stone, and things could change. So maybe that's what happened with some of the things said at XP. Maybe it wasn't, but that's something that happened with me that sounds very familiar. Okay. And so moving forward with me, I don't announce things that aren't etched in stone. That was kind of the lesson that I learned.
I mean, I hate to say it though, you can't. That's not even a comparison. Like that seems like a small mistake.
Okay.
For you to, you know what I mean? Like no Last Stand, or and we're definitely gonna have land. It's just, I don't know.
Well, something funny though, I just want to say, because I've had an encounter with 402 back when Modern Warfare 2 came out. I just wanted to tell this funny story real quick so people can understand my disdain for him. And it's not necessarily anything personal. It's just how good he is at the PR stuff. It's like he's amazing at it. So in any case, Modern Warfare 2 dropped. I was one of the lucky few that went to Chinatown and picked up my copy early. Sorry, JD, just gotta be honest with that. And I didn't hack or anything like that. But so I was playing the game, and the first thing I did as soon as I loaded up that game was look straight for LAN. I was like, okay, where's LAN? So I went straight to the system link, and I was like, what the hell is this crap? Right? I was like, this isn't LAN. This isn't. What do I have to rank up classes for? Because I thought it was hilarious. So then that day, I went to the Modern Warfare 2 launch event in Union Square in New York City, and I was with the Raw Gameplay team, and we had interviewed Robert Bowling. So I wanted to know what he said. I wanted to know his answer. So I asked the guy. I was like, could you ask him about LAN, right, and whether or not it's in the game? Even though I already knew the answer, I wanted to hear what he would say. So the guy asked him, and then Robert Bowling looked at me and the guy dead in the face and was like, LAN is in Modern Warfare 2. And he did the same thing for Modern Warfare 3 because he technically isn't lying. LAN is in the game. It's just not viable LAN, which I think is
not the LAN you guys want.
It's something that Hastro had to like re-say, I would say, or like restate, where he was like, is viable LAN.
But that's like a technicality, you know what I mean?
But that's the thing. That's how it flowed. That's what it was. I just thought that was so hilarious because he looked at me, man. He lied to me right in my face. It was depressing. Anyway, moving on though. So we talked a little bit about everything in general, about Call of Duty and esports. But let's talk about esports in general. I don't know how much you follow it. I don't know if you're actively involved in it. But what do you think about the future of esports in general?
I think it's good. I think it's I'm not going to go sensational and say it's the future, but it's good. It's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just like saying, what do you think of user-generated content? It's good. It's always good. It's not gonna make or break games, but it's a great culture and a great community to have. It's definitely going to keep players engaged. It's going to keep players coming back to the game, whether they're just viewing or whether they're competing. You see some of these prize pools are getting enormous, and that's great. That's just you see more and more sponsorships, teams getting these huge sponsorship deals. That's also awesome. And competitive gaming just complements video on demand. It complements streaming. It complements all the other things that are already sort of taking off. When you just look, you take a step back and you look at all of the social indicators, all of the change that's happening. It all is very much interconnected, and that's a good sign. That's a very good sign. So yeah, I think it's gonna keep getting stronger. I'm gonna keep watching. I'm maybe gonna practice and compete someday. I don't know. Nice. I've been playing a lot of League lately, so maybe I'll get good enough to compete in that.
Everyone's playing League nowadays.
It's fun. It's so addicting. I don't know what it is.
I've never played that game ever.
Really?
I gotta get into it. Yeah. Mode, so
it's not. Oh man, it's
on my to-do list now.
it has got a learning curve. That's something to be said about it. But if you just play the tutorial, you read some guides, you actually conquer that learning curve. It's just a lot of fun. It really is, and you got to play with a team. That's the other thing, though.
Yeah. Now, Jerry from BBB Gaming made a tweet today saying that the more people that he talked to, I guess like the less promising it seems that esports will go mainstream. Now, how do you feel, or what do you think needs to happen in order for esports to become mainstream?
I don't know. Maybe some better coverage and some better. Syndicating it better, right? So even with the best possible tools available. Okay, I'll use a League of Legends example.
Oh Lord. Okay.
I watched a league tournament just the other day, and it was great. And they had like 50,000 concurrent viewers or something, or 100,000 concurrent viewers for just a one-off thing. It wasn't like this huge the thing. It was very entertaining, and the only frustration that I had is I kept clicking on the stream trying to move my camera around because I wanted to watch something else. And granted, the guy who's streaming, the quote-unquote cameraman, he's supposed to, it's his job to kind of keep the camera on whatever the action is, in the same way that a television producer, keeps the camera on the right action.
Yeah.
But as a gamer and as a player of that, and I kind of wanted to watch my own thing maybe. So, it would be cool, and I understand the technological reasons why, but it would be cool if any number of people could connect to the game, not have to go through a streaming site and watch it in a Flash player. Yeah. But instead of using a content distribution network to blast out that video feed to 50,000 people, 50,000 people could actually have the game data blasted out to them. And so they're basically in their client, and all of the characters are moving in the same place because they're getting all that game data, and then they can move around and look at anything they wanted. That to me would be a really cool evolution, so maybe it's that, maybe that's just shitty. I don't know. Maybe I have a terrible idea, but in general, maybe the improvement of the presentation of esports is a way that it's going to go mainstream. Obviously, it's a big presentation issue. There's plenty of people that are competing right now, and there will only be more people competing. So really, it's about organizing those teams. MLG, I think, is going to be a big factor in that. Organizing those teams, organizing those competitions and brackets and the seasons, and then handling the syndication and the broadcasting side of things.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be a better way to display how the game is shown. I know that first-person shooters are very, very difficult to display properly, and one of the things that...
Whose camera are you watching? Exactly. That's why I wanted to go with the League example, because at least that can be produced and whatnot. But yeah,
I think that's part of the appeal of StarCraft, too, when you look at it, because StarCraft... Right, the screen's overhead, and the camera's overhead, and it's usually the caster who's managing it. And it's the same thing for League 2, because I know both of the guys who did the MLG one, Rivington and Forecourt, and there was always like a guy. One guy was the camera, one guy was the main caster. But in COD, in Halo, even Gears, well, Gears now you can actually do that, but in COD and Halo, you kind of can't do that. First-person shooters are a little bit more difficult to display properly.
Yes.
But I think that, in working with the developer, there could be some creative ways to display that. Perhaps creating those overheads and showing where the action is and getting to those hot spots. Maybe even a system like the way Gears had, where they have like static cameras rotating around the map. Things of that nature. I think that it can be done, but I think the competitive community would have to really work with the developers in that regard. And
the PC competitive community is kind of like ProMod. They already did a lot of those things where when you're spectating, right, you can see who's alive just without holding tab, without pulling up the scoreboard. You're able to see it because it's just right there on the side, on the screen at all times. You can see the score at all times, right top center. Yeah, those things are great. And that was same thing, when I was at Treyarch. I brought that to the PC team. I brought that to the MP team. I said, look, this is cool. Like, this is what the competitive guys, they want. So they're aware of that feedback, and I'm sure they're seeing it themselves. So, I mean, you just want to continue to champion those ideas. Don't get discouraged if they can't do it, if it just can't be a priority at this time. But those are all good things, and yes, that's going to help. That's going to help solve the problem of trying to broadcast a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, I'm going to slide in here real quick. This was actually a viewer question from the CEO of Quanta Gaming.
Oh.
So just kind of take
Big
this at will. He wants to ask about the lack of providing or promoting the LAN features needed to foster a competitive scene on PC.
On PC?
Yes.
Well, that's a different. I guess that's kind of a different thing altogether. PC, they traditionally have always done their own thing, right? Like pro mod. Because the PC and the openness of the PC and the way people mod those things, even, you know, I don't want to get into the debate of developer mod support or no mod support. It doesn't matter. They still can do way more than any console guy can. And so they always wind up solving the problem themselves. And I'm not saying that's an excuse why not to do it. But again, when you're talking about prioritizing time, you know, to me, if I'm looking at it from a business sense, I got to look at it as, you know, okay, what's the percentage of PC sales to everybody else? What's the percentage of competitive PC gamers, right? That's an even smaller subset, and you know, so it just kind of, you know, looking when I talk about prioritizing those things, that's kind of I think maybe one of the big problems there, or the big causes there.
All right, there's one more.
It's not that we don't want to, and it's not that you know, and that's what I was there for. That's what I was trying to champion, but. There's only so much a community manager can do, because, you know, at the end of the day, contrary to popular belief, we are not the end-all decision maker at the studio.
You're the messenger.
Far from it. Yes.
All right, we have one more. I'm kind of scared to ask this, but we'll see how it goes. All right, Quantic, who delivered $50K in support spending for COD in 2011, would like to ask about the lack of providing and promoting the LAN features needed to foster a competitive scene on PC, which is a much more mature and secure community to support and more professional to enjoy by fans and sponsors alike. So I guess they're kind of bringing it up that they're more professional, more, I don't know, mature, I guess.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't want to take. Yeah, I'm not going to take sides on that debate.
I mean,
I don't need to be caught in the middle of a turf war.
Yeah, like that's like a. And don't get me wrong, you know, I know Mark, great guy, you know, and I know he's a Battlefield dude, and he's a big fan of that community and PC and all that stuff. I'm just going to say something here. That's a breeding ground for a flame war. And,
yep, I'm staying as far away from that as I can.
I don't think I want to get involved in a flame war either.
I like all of the competitive communities. Okay,
I'll be the bitch. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you know, obviously the PC crowd, people, you know, I guess they are older. Most of them have, you know, money to pay for these, you know, really expensive high-end PCs. It makes sense. The entry level for the entry point, I should say, for a console versus a PC, you know, it's day and night. I mean, I can go get a PS3 right now for like $250 if I want to play, you know, PC.
This is going to get to a flame war.
I'm just going to say, if I want to play PC and W3, it just costs me a lot more money. So it makes sense. It makes sense. I just, you know, I don't necessarily think Justin, don't you dare interject in this conversation, PC fanboy. I don't want to hear it from you. Anyway,
if there's something to be said about that, though, it's that, look, and this goes back to my PC roots, is that the PC guys are kind of the godfathers of the competitive scene. So maybe they're the most, I don't want to say mature, like in terms of age maturity, but in terms of tenure, in terms of how long they've been around, maybe how much wisdom they have. Maybe they do carry a little bit more wisdom and insight into.
And I mean, to be honest with you, without the pioneers in in Unreal and Quake and Counter-Strike and all those guys, we wouldn't be here today. So, you know, I mean, of course, you have to I guess, show that appreciation.
Where it's to that, yes.
Yeah, and just want to throw this out there. Speaking of funny news, so 402 tweeted us today.
Yeah,
and I would just love to read these tweets here. I guess he watched the show. Hey, bro, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it because I watch you go on Machinima. So that's fair. So he says here, I just want to point this out, JD, maybe you can give me your thoughts on it. Okay. To be fair, there is LAN. He did say that. Not to the standard you want, which is fair. There's also no last stand perk. Regretfully, excuse me, when giving an interview to our entire community, I can't say there is no LAN when there is. So
loophole.
No, but look, that's what I was trying to say is that when you were saying that, oh, he said there was LAN, and I tried to interject. I said, yeah, but it's just not the LAN you wanted. See, that's true, because when we're talking to the world, we need to talk to the greatest common denominator, right? We need to talk at the absolute topmost level that everybody can relate to. So, because if we were to say, oh yeah, there's no LAN support, MLG guys, well then the guy who just likes to go over to his buddy's house and play offline, he's going to go, what the fuck, I can't do that anymore. But that's not true. So then he would maybe get the wrong impression. So I mean, it's kind of a lose-lose situation. And you know, it's tough, and especially you got to bear in mind when you're on the spot and you're on a live stage, and you know, it's one thing to judge from the sideline or look back with hindsight. It's another thing when you're in the middle of it, you know, taking questions live. You know, that's a whole different beast as well.
Now, he also tweeted 2 more times. I don't know if you saw this.
Santissimo, did he really?
He said, regretfully, I can't dive into the minute details between system, link, land, viable land in each interview. Furthermore, while we stated there was no last stand perk, we released a list of death streaks for transparency. Now, okay, my response to this is I was not calling you out. I was not saying, hey, you know, you're a liar, you're an asshole, whatever. Like, just as JD 2020 said, you're the messenger. Now, what I'm hating on you about, and I'll come out and I'll say it, is the way that you handled it. Now, whether or not you're spoon-fed what to say with PR or publicly, you can control how you contact a community. Now, on Twitter, you respond to people about boners. You reply to people with tits hanging out in their picture, but you can't address not one person in the competitive community. Come on. I mean, it's just the way that it was, you know, handled, in my opinion. We're not bashing you. I just don't appreciate the way it was handled. He could have had a response.
I think that what I would have liked to have seen, because obviously in the Machinima interview, JD, since you didn't watch it, I'll some of the terms that he used, and the one term that got to me, but it makes sense, I get it, was niche. He said that it is a niche community. Fwiz agreed with that, and he is actually correct. It is in fact what we do here in the competitive side of things is in fact a niche community. But if you know that this is a small community that is constantly reaching out to you, I mean, to be honest with you, I see a 402 tweet almost every single day from someone who follows me or I follow them. Like, why not transparency? And JD, as a community manager, I'm pretty sure you kind of feel like transparency is important, or maybe transparency isn't. What are your thoughts about that? We
prioritized a lot of transparency at Treyarch, and that was a word tossed around a lot at meetings and email chains. But the transparency only to a degree. There are things, you know, there's no way to say this without sounding like, you know, like a prima donna. But there are things that maybe the community in general, especially in a mob, right? In the mob mentality of the internet, there are things that you can't necessarily say that they want you to say because there's just no positive outcome, right? So we've been around, you know, the block, and we know we've learned from mistakes. We know what's worse. Sometimes if you're in a no-win situation, sometimes the best option is to take the least lose of the no-win situation. And so a lot of times the least lose is simply us bearing the hate, us bearing the heat, and looking like we weren't doing our jobs.
Yeah. When
in reality, maybe the cold, hard, truthful answer is just something that the world is not going to accept, right? They'll just, we know it's going to be a bottomless argument, a bottomless debate, and it's all going to come back to, you know, you guys just, if you don't have enough resources, you should hire more people. Like, things just, it'll get to a level that you can't, maybe you just, it's counterproductive to talk about.
I see, she wants to say something.
Quick question here, yeah. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I just don't see how, you know, why did he wait for the interview with Fwiz? He is literally approached every single day. Now, do I agree with the responses that he gets? Half of them are like, fuck you, you know? But, you know, a lot of them are actually being professional. Like, you see pro gamers, and I mean, yeah, to him, it's just, you know, a small part of his community. But, I mean, even just him saying, you know, here's the link to the forum, or even just publicly tweeting it out, not directing everybody, here's the link to the forum to prove that I posted this back in December, I forget the month that it was, you know, posted in, that it was at least on the update list. Half the people on Twitter haven't seen that. They still haven't. And then for him to release the details to Fwiz, you know, half these people were like, wait, what? Because they hadn't seen it. Yeah, they hadn't heard it. So, I mean, I think there was a way, I mean, like you said, I know it's kind of, you know.
So, I just want to say something, though. And JD, just please be, if you can't answer it, I'm fine with it. Just be honest with me. How long and how difficult was it to put the pre-match timer?
Oh, gosh.
Like, was it really hard? Like, was it like one of those things where it's like blood, sweat,
like on
tears?
a scale of 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10, there you go. So you don't have to say anything. Just say -5. Like, I don't know. Just give me an answer. If you can't, I understand. I just feel like I need to get it out there.
I don't know. The devs will give you a different answer. I always thought and argued that it was it was easy, right? It's a DVAR, it's a variable change. I come from a PC modding background, so I know how these DVARs and CVARs work, and so to me it seemed like it was really really easy, and that's why I was always annoyed. I would actually argue with a lot of my supervisors and stuff, just being like, why can we not do this? It should be easier. But they would always insist that it's not always that easy. It's not always, and I'll defer to their expertise that it's there are plenty of things about the development that I don't know because I'm not a developer. So so I don't know. My gut says that particular change was probably fairly easy, but I wouldn't.
I can understand that the work put into doing something like that. Yeah, obviously every line of code, everything that they do, it's these guys are busting their ass, and I'm 100% understanding of that. It just it really blows my mind, and even more so grinds my gears that that team at Treyarch that saw what we did and was like, you know what, we support you guys. Put something like that in it for us. And to be honest with you, we've been running tournaments, LAN events. I know King of the Couch, so big shout outs to those guys. Simply Black, Rod Lane, of Regrets. Those guys have found a way to do LAN, albeit a very slow way of doing it. But it could be done. You just need a pre-match timer. That's it. It's like.
But maybe Robert didn't know that. Did you guys tell him that?
I think everyone in the world did at some point or another.
Because again, LAN lobbies is usually a term that's thrown around a lot, and those aren't necessarily feasible.
I know that myself, Hastro, Fwiz, and a lot of other notable people in the community have said pre-match timer. That was like...
I wouldn't be terribly surprised if after this podcast you see a pre-match timer patch.
Well, if they do it, then hell, if I was part of the reason for it, guys, I want some cookies.
But now listen, in the interview, and this is a quote directly from him, he was not stating how easy or how hard it was. This is his exact quote. Any code change you make to a game is as risky as any other code change, regardless of how many lines it is. There's entire features and there's tweaks to existing code base, but it's the same risk. The problem is just getting it on the schedule.
Right, and that's fully true. And this blew my mind too. Like we would change something tiny, like the message of the day, and we would change something that shouldn't affect anything else. But you got to QA and test the whole game because there's just no telling what it might impact and what it might affect. So like, that's a completely valid statement, and that's the side of development that people don't necessarily know, and that's a lot of hours that you got to spend testing any change and just making sure that there's regression testing every feature that's maybe dependent on that, and with such a huge, complicated piece of software, there's no telling what it could break. So there's always risk, and it's a matter of is it worth the risk? It's a big game of risk mitigation and time management.
And see, that's all he was saying. Is it big enough that it needs a dedicated patch, or does it need to be something that can be updated with something else? So pretty much it's just the timing for them, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of like the way it came off in that interview that he had. Now, something I wanted to point out on the bottom here, because Emily kind of got into that whole interview aspect with Fwiz and Bowling. Now, I don't know if actually there are quotation marks. So these. Oh
no, this is the exact interview.
This is exactly what he had said, and this is the part that kind of blows my mind away, because in my personal opinion, when you use the word priority, okay, I mean, if we look in the dictionary as to what the definition of priority is, I mean something that will eventually get done because it is in fact very, very important. Am I correct, JD?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I think I am.
Prioritize though is a different word.
But he said, stop playing with the words there, JD.
Loophole.
Stop loopholing it with your PR self. Anyway, so now the thing that he mentions the word priority like multiple times in the interview. He was like, well, it's a priority, and then it was a priority, and then we did it and it was a priority. And he said that a lot, but then it was the last few statements that he had made, and I quote, when Jaws had asked how much influence does MLG carry with game developers, he says, it factors in the point of showing goodwill to a passionate group, one quote. Second quote, the sales argument doesn't work, which I can agree with. I think that's Call of Duty sells itself at this point, which is, it is what it is. Third quote, we're not going to get any additional sales through MLG. And fourth quote, that argument will never work. So sales, obviously the money factor is really, really big in that. and this isn't even a question directed toward you, JD, or anyone. This is more of a statement. It's like we've been passionate all these years. We've been passionate since COD 4, asking for LAN, asking for these things. And I don't know who's watching it from. I don't know if Bowling's watching it or if David Vondahar is watching it. You know, if you are,
called out.
If you are, thank you. I appreciate the support. But I'm gonna tell you this much. All right, what we do is passion. What we do is because we love it, and we support your game through and through, which I think is the sadder part, saddest part of it, whatever, is that we have supported Infinity Ward. Now, I'm going to say Infinity Ward developed Call of Duty because Treyarch has done the work for us, and I think that is commendable. But the Infinity Ward Call of Duties, COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and there are people out there that are still willing to compete in this game, despite the things that are missing that we gravely need. At some point in time, 402, at some point in time, you should think, damn, let's throw these dudes a bone. Just a bone. One. I think that'd be fair. But that's my personal opinion. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to get up, toss the mic down, a Goldenboy's done. Boom.
I feel some more tweets coming on.
I don't give a crap. I got to say my opinion. So, in any case, I guess, guys, we're going to be closing out the show now, Em? What do you think?
Yeah. Pretty much it.
Chalk this up as the best show ever.
No, this was good. Thank you so much, JD2020, for coming on and discussing this with us. Again, we are not in a flame war. We are not trying to call anybody out. We're just trying to make a statement and let you know what needs to be done. And we're
too late. I'm unfollowing you on Twitter right now. It's too late. It's over.
No, but just previously talking about kind of a community manager's role, you know, what he thinks, getting his take on things. So please do not misconstrue this show into something that it is not.
Well, I'm going to say this. JD, you have been an amazing guest. You have been so informative. You have been so humble with everything, and I greatly appreciate it. And I got your back in the next Twitter argument. Just letting you know. I will fight everyone just for you, buddy.
Thank you so much.
So, but JD, thank you so much for coming on.
It was good talking with you guys. Thanks for.
Thank you. Thank you. Too. All right, and to the viewers out there, I believe Goldenboy, we changed to Thursdays now at 8:30 Eastern. For good?
Have we now?
I'm pretty sure we have.
I guess we have.
At least for the next month or so. So, all right, you guys heard it here. We will be back next Thursday at 8:30 Eastern. Be sure to press the follow button and to follow everybody that are on the ESFI staff on Twitter, as well as JD2020. Thank you again for coming out, and we will see you guys next week.
Take it easy, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Greatly appreciate it.
No, I'm going to get flamed on Twitter. Like, I can feel it.